And thank you everyone for joining us this afternoon. Do have a couple of updates to share about how we're continuing to work so focused to help all the Oregonians relying on us. So I'll go ahead and jump into those updates and announcements. One is about the Lost Wages Assistance Program. Those are the FEMA benefit payments of additional $300 per week, covering the time period of July 26th through September 5th of this year. Last week, we announced that we did meet our goal of starting to issue the Lost Wages Assistance payments by the end of last month. Since that initial run, we have identified a few issues that we're continuing to work on. That initial run paid over $225 million to almost 148,000 people. We are continuing to work on the issues we've identified, but we're also continuing to make payments since then, including this morning issuing about another $95 million in payments. In total so far, we've paid out about $330 million in lost wages assistance to about 230,000 people. And we'll continue making those payments. And again, this is a reminder that this is different from most other programs that we administer. It is a FEMA program, and once all of the funds are exhausted, we may not be able to get additional funds. So we're really encouraging people who have not already self-certified to do so right away. That certification is a one-time process that is required by FEMA. It's not required for people who are receiving PUA benefits, but for anybody else receiving other types of benefits, they should self-certify, and they can do that at our online claims system by scrolling down to the Lost Wages Assistance. For people that need language access, they can contact us by email at oed_languageaccess@oregon.gov or by calling our language hotline 503-606-6969. And again, we encourage people to certify as soon as possible. We are continuing to make payments as we get more certifications, but we want to make sure that we can get benefits out to people as quickly as possible. The next large public-facing IT project that we're working on is the payment of the waiting week. And our earlier estimate was that we anticipated being able to start paying people for the waiting week by the end of November. We're still on track with that. And again, we're watching cautiously because unexpected developments, new programs could change that timing. We're working on other innovations as well. One of our overarching goals has been to continually advance how we serve Oregonians and to look for new ways to do that. We're always looking for creative solutions to meet the new and growing demands. And today we're glad to announce the initial rollout of a new tool that we hope will help some people who are looking for information about our unemployment programs. We just launched a new chatbot on our new website, unemployment.oregon.gov. And while this isn't a real person, so they can't answer claim-specific questions or give real detailed information, it can help answer many questions and point people to other resources that are on our public website. So it's another avenue for people to access the information to help people understand the many different programs and processes that are at play in Oregon right now. And we're going to continue to refine the chatbot to make sure that it's as helpful as possible to people using it. Well, most of what we've been talking about during these media events is related to unemployment insurance benefits. We are doing a lot of other work at the agency as well. Some of that work involves standing up the paid family and medical leave insurance program, which will be a very significant new program helping Oregon workers and businesses. We're starting to move forward with virtual town halls starting next week. Those are essentially listening sessions and an opportunity for us to gather input from people on each of the core aspects of that paid family and medical leave insurance program. Town hall participants are invited to identify issues, offer ideas, raise concerns, and make suggestions related to the program's development and what may ultimately be included in the administrative rules. Each of those town halls is going to be recorded and will be available online. And for more information and to see the schedule or to register, you can visit our website at oregon.gov/employ/PFMLI. And again, we really encourage people who are interested to give us their feedback. We want to know what people want to see out of that program and make sure that we're building that program with the workers and businesses who will rely upon it in mind. Some of the other work that we've been doing is the ongoing economic and research work that our agency does. And this year, there's a 2020 summer statewide job vacancy survey, and the results show that amid all the economic, public health, and societal changes that are going on, there is actually a fair amount of hiring going on. So some of the highlights from that study are that the average starting wage this summer was $19.18, which is actually up 7% from the summer of 2019. The total number of job openings increased by 9% from what they were in the spring, but it is down 26% compared to last summer. So that's certainly showing some of the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. Most of the openings that are there are for full-time permanent positions. Businesses that are reporting closures due to COVID-19 restrictions dropped from the 18% level that they were in the spring to 7% now. And we're still focused on getting everybody all of the benefits they're eligible for as quickly as possible. But we're also planning and looking at how we can help reemployment efforts. We're seeing more businesses turn to us for help finding workers that have the right skills and experience to do the work they need. And we're also making adjustments to that part of our work, taking into account how things are different now in a COVID-affected world. So we're looking at more virtual support. And importantly, we want to focus on those who have been most severely impacted by this recession to help them get back to work and to provide the supports that we can. We're going to continue to share updates on this as the course of the pandemic and economic changes and worker and business needs evolve going forward. We have received interest from employers who are wondering about the impact of the high number of people receiving unemployment benefits will have on their tax rates. We won't be announcing new employer tax rates until November 13th, but I can share that for several reasons, we don't anticipate any sudden or severe changes to the unemployment insurance tax schedules in Oregon. A key reason for that is our statutory self-balancing formula that has kept our unemployment insurance trust fund solvent. It did that during the Great Recession, and it appears very likely to do so during this unprecedented demand for services as well. That's unlike the situation in many other states. So far, 19 other states have already borrowed $34.5 billion to pay the regular unemployment benefits to their constituents. Oregon does not look like we will need to borrow money, and that's good news because it means that it will save Oregon employers from having to pay interest and other borrowing costs on top of the regular unemployment insurance taxes. Another reason that we don't anticipate a sudden or severe change in the unemployment insurance taxes is that a large amount of the benefits that we're paying out are being directly funded by the federal government and not being funded through state employer unemployment insurance payroll taxes. Additionally, we generally look at a 3-year time frame to determine unemployment insurance tax rates. So while this recession is very severe, the 3-year period that we look at only includes about 8% of that time is impacted by the pandemic. We will be making our official announcement about what tax schedule we will be in for calendar year 2021 by the November 15th statutory deadline. And that's also when we'll be notifying each individual employer what their tax rate will be for 2021. I mentioned at my last update that we're doing our webinars every other week. We do have one this week, and it's a broad overview of the unemployment programs that we're offering. We'll address some of the key questions and themes that we're seeing on social media and the common issues that people are facing. We'll provide an update on claims processing, focusing on the lost wages assistance, pandemic unemployment assistance, and the extension programs. And you can visit our social media pages to register for that webinar. And all of our prior webinars are available on our YouTube channel. In terms of the numbers and the progress that we're making, between March 15th and October 3rd, we've paid out $4.9 billion in benefits. If you include what we've paid since October 3rd, we're over the $5 billion mark for money that's been paid out to people. For regular unemployment insurance claims, we continue to be doing well with the initial processing. Between March 15th and October 3rd, we received about 581,500 new claims for benefits. The same time period last year, it was about 78,500. And again, we're maintaining about that same balance of claims that aren't yet processed, which is in the about 1,000 to a little over 1,100 range. But the oldest of those is only 2 weeks old, with the vast majority of those claims being processed within just a few business days. The Pandemic Unemployment Insurance Program, we have paid out about $228 million to almost 64,000 people. And because we're in a period of high extended benefits, the PUA program will continue longer than when it was initially announced. It can provide up to 46 weeks of benefits, but unless there's further congressional action, that program is still scheduled to expire after December 26th. So people would not be eligible for PUA benefits after that week, even if they haven't received 46 weeks of benefits at that time. We're caught up with handling work-share claims. Since March 15th, we've had over 1,600 employers, and we currently have a little over 65,000 workers that are covered by work-share getting benefits. Oregon continues to be one of the strongest states in terms of having work-share support businesses and workers through the pandemic. I shared last time that in the adjudication process, as of September 23rd, we had identified about 49,000 people who had claims that need to be adjudicated. We're close to having a more regular, reliable reporting mechanism so that we can provide ongoing updates about the number of people awaiting adjudication, what our goals are for working through those, and the progress that we're making. We're doing some testing of the reporting that we have and anticipate being able to give more information in the near future. And again, we continue to focus our efforts on speeding up the adjudication process, working with contracted resources, changing our training methods and processes. And the Benefits While You Wait program is another approach that we've taken to trying to help people have benefits even while they're waiting for the adjudication process to complete. As part of the Benefits While You Wait approach, we have paid about 18,000 people a total of $69 million in benefits. We continue our focus on getting Oregonians paid. We know there are still too many people who are waiting to receive all of their benefits, and they are our agency's top priority. We're constantly focused on getting them their benefits and examining how we can possibly do that quicker and better. We're going to continue providing updates on getting benefits to those who have been waiting the longest, as well as updates on our other work, staying in touch with employers to make sure we address potential concerns about how unemployment might impact them, working with them to find new employees as they have more demand for new workers, implementing any new unemployment programs that are created, adjusting the existing ones as we receive additional guidance, preparing more of our employees for remote work, and of course, updating you on our path to modernizing our unemployment insurance systems. With that, again, thank you for spending the time with us today, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, David. I'm going to begin opening the lines so that we can get questions in. And a reminder, one question and one follow-up question. If you're joining us by phone and you're having trouble unmuting yourself, hit *6, or you can email your question over to oed_communications@oregon.gov. And first up, we have Lindsay Nadrich with Coin.
Oh, there we go. Sorry, I was having trouble unmuting. Hey, David, I spoke to a woman today who said she applied for regular benefits in March and still doesn't have them. I don't know if her case could be maybe an outlier because you were saying you're caught up with most of those, but she mentioned she still can't get through on the phone, and I personally just tried to call both the regular and PUA hotlines and could only get busy signals and couldn't get through. Do you know, I mean, are there more people out there like her that are still waiting, and what are you doing for those folks, and what do you suggest?
So we are absolutely focused on helping people who have been waiting the longest. So I'm sorry to hear about her situation. I strongly recommend that she fill out a Contact Us form on our website. It does ask people essentially what the first week is that they're waiting for benefits on so that we can prioritize and focus on those people who have been waiting the longest. And it lets us do that without them having to try to get through on the phones. So would strongly encourage her or anyone else that has been waiting a long period of time to use that tool as a way to contact us. In terms of how many people may be out there that are waiting, we're working through all of those as quickly as we identify them. We have processed all of the claims from that time period. It is likely that she may have an issue that involves adjudication. As I mentioned, that's the area where it's probably our biggest challenge right now and what we're focused on getting moved through as quickly as possible. But even for those in adjudication, that is older than it should be. So really do encourage her to let us know through the Contact Us form, and we will make that a priority.
And then you were saying, so still roughly you think it's 49,000 people that are stuck in that adjudication process. You didn't have any updated numbers yet?
Well, we're still working to refine the reporting to make sure that it's accurate. That was as of September 23rd. The reporting that we've been able to do since then, we saw the number actually go up a little bit just because we continue to have new people filing claims and new issues come up each week that can require adjudication. But we've actually worked through a number of those that we knew about on September 23rd. So my hope is that when I give you this update next week, I'll be able to share how many, kind of like we did with the PUA focus, where we were able to say, here's how many people were waiting for adjudication as of a certain date, and our goal for getting through all of those, because we'll always be identifying new issues that come up and needing to work through those. And we'll try to provide as much data about those who have been waiting the longest, which is the biggest priority, but also the more recently filed ongoing issues.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lindsay. Next is Kate Davidson with OPB. Is Kate Davidson on the line? Okay, we can come back if Kate is having technical difficulties. Next, we have Peter Wong with Pamplin Media.
Hi, David, can you give an update on the wildfires in terms of both priority to claims and areas hit by wildfires, and then also the disaster unemployment assistance, which goes, I guess, through FEMA?
Sure, I can give some updates. The easiest update is around the disaster unemployment assistance program. And we have received a pretty small number of people who have actually applied under that program. It's under 150. We are prioritizing everybody who is impacted by the fire, whether they're seeking benefits under that new program or under any other program. We're not too surprised that it's a small number of people applying for the DUA, because with all of the other benefit programs, most people that were impacted by the fires are probably eligible for benefits under one of the other programs. And that DUA program really is a safety net of last resort that's only there if people can't get any of the other benefits. So we continue to prioritize the claims. We identified a number of people based on the addresses that we have who we knew were in Zone 3 evacuation areas, for example. We've also received direct contact from a number of people, including through our Contact Us form, and we continue to give those claims priority so that we can provide that help as quickly as possible.
Switching to paid family medical leave, what's the timetable that the agency goes through? And I gather the last thing would be a rate that people or employers pay in to create the fund. But go ahead and
Sure. There's a number of different phases to the project. The first kind of big programmatic rollout has a statutory deadline or date of January 1, 2022 for when employer payroll contributions and worker contributions start to be paid. So prior to that date, if that date's going to be hit, there's a lot of work that has to be done, including setting what the contribution rate will be and having systems for employers to seek approval for having an equivalent plan that they offer themselves or through a third party. And then a year later, on January 1, 2023, is the current statutory deadline for when benefits actually start to be available.
Okay, so we're a long ways before anything.
Sure. It's a long ways looking at how far away it is, but when you look at the amount of work that needs to be done, it looks a lot closer, and we're certainly working as quickly as we can. And I mentioned those outreach sessions that we're having now. We really do want to build this from the ground up, looking at what workers and businesses need. We've talked a lot in these updates, and I have in other places, about how the unemployment insurance program has evolved over decades and decades. And some of the pain points that we in every other state are experiencing is because of the layering on of new technology, new programs, new needs over those many decades. This is really a great opportunity for us to build a program and the system to provide those benefits to businesses and workers from the beginning in a way that is focused entirely on what they need and how they're going to be using it. So it's a really exciting opportunity.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Peter. Just a reminder for those who are joining us by phone only, *6 to unmute yourself, maybe in addition to your mute button. Next, let's go with Mike Rogoway from the Oregonian.
Hey there, David.
Hello.
So on the Lost Wages Assistance Program, do you have a sense, are there a large number of people you think who have not certified, who may not be aware yet? I know you sent out emails and letters, we've had articles, but do you think there's a large number of people who aren't aware that they have to certify at this point?
I don't think it's a large number. We really have done a lot of outreach. You all in the media have helped with sharing that. We've done it on social media. We've done direct emails to people. We've done direct physical mail to people to let them know. So we're really doing everything that we can to make sure people know about the certification requirement. And it's hard for us to know if some people aren't certifying because they've looked at it and they know that unfortunately they're in the relatively small category where they're not eligible for the lost wages assistance, or if they're not aware of the certification requirement. But we're certainly doing everything we can.
And if I understood them correctly and how it was implemented here, the department paid out, the minimum claims initially, and then has gone back over time and reviewed people's financial filings, tax filings, to determine what they're actually eligible for. Am I understanding that correctly? And if so, how far through that process are you right now?
Sure, you are understanding it correctly. To start getting benefits out to as many people as quickly as possible, we started paying almost everyone at the minimum benefit amount because we could get that going quicker, and then began the process of going back for those who believed they were eligible for more to review the documentation to see if that was the case, and if so, to make adjustments, including retroactive adjustments. In terms of how far through the process we're making quick progress on it. It's hard to give you an exact number because we continue to get new filings and to get new requests for revising benefit amounts each day. But it's hard to quantify. When this first started, we were going very slowly on that work because we were prioritizing learning the new program and getting any benefits going. We now have teams of people working on those weekly benefit amount adjustments for PUA recipients. And we're getting through hundreds to low thousands a day as we do that. So we think that within the next week or two, we'll actually be really current so that any requests that are remaining to be reviewed are ones that we've received just within the past few days.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Next, we have Angelina Dixson with KVEL.
Hey, David, how you doing? I hope you can hear me. I was wondering, how many people do we have left to receive benefits for PUA? Do we have that number? I know numbers keep changing.
We really don't, unfortunately, and particularly with the PUA program. We know how many people we've paid benefits, and we have some other pieces of the puzzle. where we can say how many people applied and aren't eligible. We have a lot of people who have filed multiple applications, or people who filed for one program, for instance, for PUA, and they're actually getting benefits under unemployment insurance. And like with all the other questions I've had about the numbers of people, we do continue to get new pandemic unemployment assistance claims filed each day. So I can't give you an exact number. I do know that we're continuing to make progress on all parts of that backlog, both what I mentioned in response to Mike's question about adjusting the benefit amounts, also the adjustments that we were making when the federal guidance allowed us to look at weekly gross earnings differently when people are reporting their earnings, and that allowed many people to get more benefits, and with the initial processing or clearing up the other issues that may need to be addressed on the claims. But I unfortunately can't give you a concrete number of how many people have applied that will get benefits, but we haven't done that yet.
Okay, and $4.9 billion was paid out. Was that for PUA or was that overall?
That's overall with all of the various programs that have gone on. So the PUA amount itself, we've paid out about $228 million. And then it's about $1.6 billion in regular unemployment benefits. When we had the extra $600 per week, that was about $2.9 billion. And then we have work share, PEUC, extended benefits, a lot of the other programs also. So the grand total of all benefits through October 3rd was about $4.9 billion.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Angelina. Next is Keaton Thomas with K2.
Hey, David. Thanks for taking the call. I guess first question is kind of related to what Lindsay had asked you about adjudication. I'm just curious if you can describe to me how often does the employment department communicate with people in adjudication about their status, and how would they know where they lie in this process?
Yeah, and the answer is that we know that we don't communicate enough to satisfy people's understandable concern about where they are and what's going to happen. Part of that is because we are still struggling to get through the work as quickly as possible and trying to balance the time spent communicating about where people are in the process and the time spent getting people through the process more quickly. Frequently also, it's not until we actually look at the individual claim and we can determine whether it's something that we can resolve without having to do the full adjudication process. So we know that there's lots of people who have claims that may need the full adjudication. Certainly once it's assigned to an adjudicator, our adjudicators are reaching out to talk to them. We almost always need to get information from the individual seeking benefits and frequently from other people as well. But there is unfortunately some time that can pass up until it's assigned to an adjudicator where we don't yet know that it necessarily will need the full adjudication process. And we do understand that that's a difficult situation for people to be in.
Thank you. Follow up, but unrelated. Yesterday we had the president put out there that he was stalling negotiation talks for another stimulus, which would presumably mean further delays in any other federal, unemployment benefit expansion program. Does that shift how you guys are thinking in terms of what you're going to be focusing on over the next few months or few weeks? Basically, just does it affect what you guys are doing at the employment department?
In some parts it does. So in terms of the work that we're doing to get caught up and to roll out programs, it doesn't. We're focused right now on getting the waiting week paid and getting everybody else who hasn't yet received all of their benefits, the benefits as quickly as possible. And that won't change regardless of whether negotiations are going on or not. If there is new federal legislation, so we're watching closely to try to understand what it might be if there is new legislation. And if it passes, then we will look at what that program is and use that same lens that we've been using of looking at what helps the most people the most quickly to determine whether that will shift some of the work that we're doing or not. It's just really hard to know the answer until some legislation is actually much closer to passing, whether that would shift what we're doing or if it would just be the next thing that we work on. We do think it will impact some of the other ways that we serve people, though. And I talked about how we're doing work with the increasing number of employers that are coming to us looking for more workers. And we certainly anticipate more people who would run out of benefits, who would be increasingly desperate, and we would want to be focusing our efforts with helping them find those jobs that are suitable for them so that they can get back to work and have income, to help them find training or other skill certification or skill building that might help them find their next job. So it will impact the work that we do there as more and more people exhaust benefits, regardless of whether that's because of no new programs or just the passage of time.
Thanks.
Thanks, Keaton. Let's try one more time and see if Kate Davidson from OPB is on the line.
I'm here. Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay. I wanted to return to the UI tax schedule, and I know that you indicated the official word will come out in November. But I was just curious whether the recent sort of rosier than expected revenue forecast changed the calculus at all with this. Basically, if the consideration has changed since you briefed the state lawmakers about moving possibly to Schedule 4, is anything different?
No, the statewide economic forecast that was announced that was better than anticipated doesn't really impact the formula that looks at either what tax schedule we're likely to be in, nor the individual employer tax rates. There are, by statute, some time frames that we look at in terms of both the balance of the trust fund and also looking at previous high usage of the trust fund to kind of project what future needs are. So all of those things are kind of retrospective looks and weren't impacted by the change in the prospective forecast of the state's economy.
The second thing I wanted to ask was actually about WorkShare. Did the department recently implement some kind of new software or technology to use with WorkShare claims, and what problems was it trying to address?
So I'm not aware of any major changes. We may have made some adjustments, and I can certainly follow up on that. What we've seen through the course of the pandemic as the biggest challenge with the WorkShare claims was simply that it required a lot of very manual work. It still does, but when we started out, we had just a handful of people that were doing the WorkShare program. We now have hired many more people, have trained them, and they're working through that really proficiently, so we're staying caught up. So there may have been some adjustments, but it certainly wasn't the implementation of an entirely new system.